In the world of computer graphics, we have gotten incredibly good at the big loud stuff. Explosions, realistic water, a perfect sunset. But for decades, one thing has stumped even the best artists out there: the human face. So today, we're going to dive into how one game, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, finally cracked the code.
We've all been there, right? You're watching a movie or playing a game, and the character on screen looks almost real, but something is just not right. It's creepy. Well, that feeling has a name, and for a whole generation of animators, it's been the final boss of digital graphics. It's called the Uncanny Valley. See, our brains have been hardwired over millions of years to read faces, for social cues, for danger, for emotion. So when a digital face gets 99% of the way to realistic, but misses that last 1%, our brain doesn't just see a good try. No, it sees something fundamentally wrong, a bad human. And that just sets off all kinds of primal alarms deep inside.
So let's really break down why this is so insanely difficult. The challenge isn't just about making a face that looks human. It's about making a face that moves and feels human. And well, when you look at the raw biology of it, you start to see the just mind-boggling scale of the problem.
The average human face is controlled by about 43 different muscles. Just think about that for a second. These aren't simple bones moving on hinges. It's this incredibly complex web of muscles, all pulling and relaxing in perfect, subtle harmony.
And this is where the math gets absolutely staggering. Those 43 muscles, they can combine to create over 10,000 unique expressions. The little twitch of an eyelid, the slight quiver of a lip. Trying to animate all of that by hand, frame by frame, it's practically impossible to get it right. To solve a problem this huge, developers knew they needed a totally new approach. They needed a way to capture a real performance, not just try to animate a fake one. And that meant moving way beyond the traditional tools of the trade.
So you've probably heard of motion capture, right? Mocap? That's where actors wear those suits with all the little ping pong balls on them to capture how their body moves. But for the face, you need something way more advanced: performance capture, or PeCap. The huge difference is that PeCap records the actor's face, their body, and their voice all at the exact same time, syncing them up perfectly.
So how did the team at Ninja Theory actually pull this off for Hellblade? Well, they perfected this very specific three-part workflow that could turn a raw human performance into digital data with, frankly, stunning accuracy. It basically breaks down like this.
Okay, first, you've got the rig. It's a helmet with a camera locked right in front of the actress's face, which means it never ever loses focus. Second, the markers. Dozens of little black dots are painted on her face, and they act as tracking points for the camera. And third, the solver. This is a really powerful piece of software that calculates the relationships between all those moving dots and translates them into facial expressions on the character.
But here's where the Hellblade team went that extra mile. They didn't just map those dots onto some generic 3D model. Oh no, they created a digital double of their actress, Melina Juergens. This digital model was anatomically identical to her. We're talking right down to the thickness of her skin, the way blood flows underneath it, and the precise structure of her skull. It wasn't a puppet, it was a digital twin.
Now, all of this tech was incredibly impressive, but parts of it weren't entirely new. The truly revolutionary leap for Hellblade wasn't in what they captured, but how they did it. They did the whole thing live. See, before Hellblade, this kind of high-quality capture was always done offline. An actor would do their performance, and then a team of animators would spend weeks, sometimes even months, cleaning up all that data just to put it into a single cutscene. But Ninja Theory? They found a way to pipe the data directly from the actress straight into the game engine, instantly. This all led to a true you-had-to-be-there magic moment. At a huge industry conference, the actress stood on stage performing, and on the giant screen behind her, the character, Senua, was mirroring her performance in real time. Every blink, every breath, every shout, it was all happening simultaneously. There was no delay, no rendering time. It was actually live.
So why is that such a big deal? Well, it completely changes the entire creative process. All of a sudden, directors could work with the digital character just like a real actor on a film set. They could give feedback, say, let's try that again, and see the final in-game result immediately, not weeks down the line. It's a total game changer.
But honestly, the most incredible part of this whole technological story isn't about the hardware or the software. It's about the person wearing that rig. and the unbelievable story of how she got there.
You would think for a performance this emotionally demanding, you'd go out and hire a seasoned Hollywood actor, right? But the person who brought Senua to life had never professionally acted a day in her life.
Her name is Melina Jurgens, and she was actually the studio's video editor. She was only supposed to be a stand-in, just to help the team test the equipment. But her performance during those early tests, the way she portrayed fear and vulnerability, was so raw, so authentic and powerful that the team just knew they had found their Senua.
And this is what makes the technology so profound. It was so sensitive, so incredibly accurate, that it could capture something completely and totally genuine. When you see the fear in Senua's eyes, you are not looking at some clever bit of animation. You are looking at a digitized recording of Melina's actual fear in that moment.
So in the end, this was never just about making a prettier video game. This incredible technology served a much deeper, narrative purpose that was absolutely essential to the story Hellblade was trying to tell.
Hellblade is a journey into psychosis, and to build empathy for a character who is experiencing such a profound and misunderstood condition, the player had to connect with her on a deeply human level. For the whole thing to work, you had to see the subtle pain behind her eyes, the terror in her breath. Any standard, slightly off video game face would have completely shattered that crucial connection.
And that's really the ultimate takeaway here. What Hellblade proved is that the next big leap forward in interactive storytelling isn't just about more pixels on the screen. It's about conveying more powerful and nuanced emotion. It's about finally bridging that uncanny valley to tell stories that were, before this, simply impossible.
Which of course leaves us with a really fascinating question for the future. Now that we have the tools to capture and represent genuine human emotion this faithfully, what new kinds of experiences, what new perspectives, and what entirely new stories will creators finally be able to tell?